Eamon, where are we? I know we know acutely where we are in the qualification table after the defeat the other day, but what's your kind of end-of-year report on the Republic of Ireland and the new management team?
I think there are pluses, and the results we got. Georgia, we got a victory that we probably didn't deserve over the 90 minutes. Germany, the world champions, we got a point again over 90 minutes. It wasn't a great performance. We hammered Gibraltar, and in Scotland, I thought we were beaten by a better team with more quality because they wanted to play, get the ball down and play in what was admittedly a frenetic atmosphere. I'd say I have faith in Martin O'Neill, but I have questions as well. I mean, with that 9 months he had to prepare the first competitive game against Georgia, he came out of left field with a team that had never played together before. Now that does not make sense. We had a match against Oman a few days before. If you're going to play a team, you want to play that team and give them a run out. So again, against Scotland, he comes out of the blue, plays two up front, John Walters and Shane Long, and plays a 4-2-4. There was nothing linear there. There's no pattern. There's no logic. So I don't think, and Neil Lennon said it on the broadcast on Friday night, Martin necessarily knows his best team, and I don't think he knows at this stage whether he can get away with playing two in midfield. I don't think he can. He needs to play three in midfield. So it's a work in progress. He's got 4 or 5 months to think about things now. And I think there is one other big issue. It's the conduct of his assistant manager, particularly in alienating Everton Football Club and Jack Grealish, the young Aston Villa player, having a go at his father, a player we're trying to persuade to sign up for Ireland. And, of course, all the other stuff that's like a circus out in Malahide whenever we play. I think that's got to be nipped in the bud. It's bad for the team. It's bad for a reputation. It looks unprofessional.
But how does that play out?
Well,
what does Martin O'Neill do? Let's look at what Roy Keane said, and I know what you're saying about Everton and about Jack Grealish. People were very upset about the comments aimed at the father. But is Roy ultimately right that Jack Grealish, he's working with the kid every day? It looks like he's not going to play for Ireland. The longer it goes on, the longer you think, no, he's not going to play.
Well, all the more reason, if he's working there every day, not to have a go at his father and to diminish the player in any way at all in public. No right to do that whatsoever. It's just not on. And he's no right to be making policy statements. The manager should manage. The assistant manager largely shouldn't be given high-profile press conferences and should not be getting involved with journalists to the extent that he is.
If he knew in advance, if it was a planned thing that he said, before the press conference, this is something I'm going to say, and if him and O'Neill decided, there's some value in saying it, that's one thing, but I don't know what the value is from bringing that into the public. If, on the other hand, which I think is more likely, he just got a bit riled by journalist questions, or he couldn't control himself and he said things which later realised he shouldn't, well, that's just a weakness of the job. There's a certain diplomacy involved, and we can talk all day that, the rights and wrongs of what he said. I don't know Grealish's own man. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes at Everton. It doesn't matter whether anything he said touched on the truth. It's why did he say it and what are the consequences? And as Eamon said, should someone in his position be speaking in that way?
But the counter to that is he's Roy Keane, and we have done.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. How much of this is out of character?
Look, this is the Irish international soccer team. I don't want Gordon Strachan, as he was the day before our match last week, making fun of the Irish soccer team, saying he has his own problems with his assistant Mark McGee. They fight over Scrabble. Yeah, but that is, it's demeaning to our players. It turns our camp into a media circus. It's wrong for Irish football, and nothing justifies it. And it has to be dealt with. Otherwise, others will notice. And if we're trying to get players to qualify for Ireland, to sign up for Ireland, and they look at the behaviour of Keane, if we're trying to have goodwill with Everton Football Club, where 4 of our best players are playing, we need that goodwill. We don't want to squander it. That stuff has to stop. It should stop. It's wrong.
The one key thing whenever there's discussions like this is that whether it's a distraction, whether it's unwelcome, my starting point is always, I wonder what the impact is on the squad. And it's very plausible that no player in that squad gives a toss. that the comments of an assistant manager in a press conference, that they might find them mildly entertaining or just dismiss them altogether. Maybe it has no impact on training or morale or anything that they do. That's very plausible. It distracts everyone else, and people who write columns in newspapers and report in the news ignore football and talk about Roy Keane. But often that has no bearing on how a player prepares for a game or how they play in training.
Richie, if it gives your opponent 5% or even 0.05%
I
of
question
an
how
edge,
it would. I question how it would.
Your opponent.
Roy Keane goes on a rant about whatever he likes. Why would me as an opponent feel like I have an advantage?
Well, look at Gordon's record last week. Why did Gordon bring it up at the press conference? Why was he laughing at us?
He was asked about it. He didn't bring it up. He asked about it.
And then he had something to sneer at.
I think that's the right response. Just dismiss it.
Yeah,
Make it laugh.
Could it just be? I know you took that he was sneering against us, like we did in the build-up to the game. Talk about his sense of humour. You've worked with him here. You know he's a joker. You know this thing. Can we have a quick word, Gordon? And he says velocity and walks off. He's a joker. That's his character. He's a great character. But do you take serious offence at the Scrabble thing? You know that it's bringing attention.
The day before the Republic of Ireland soccer team is playing, I don't like them to be a subject of fun, figures of fun. And there's an element to this that should not be present. The assistant manager should not be commanding the energy and the thoughts of the media, the manager, week after week, training camp after training camp. There's just too much of it. If it was a one-off incident, okay, no problem. But the stuff with Jack Grealish and his father is serious. I don't know what Paul Lambert, the Aston Villa manager, will think of it, for example. Never mind the impact it has on Ireland. The stuff with Everton Football Club, with their chairman on television last night saying that he likes Roy Keane, but some of the stuff he comes out with is mad. That's travelling around the sports world, and it's travelling into the Everton dressing room. It makes life uncomfortable for our own players. It's bad. You have to be serious about your work. Look at the Irish rugby team. Look at the Kilkenny hurling team. Look at anybody who's serious about their sport. They take it seriously. There's none of this circus activity. Imagine if Joe Schmidt had one of his assistants carrying on like that, week after week, training.
Well, the comparison would be if he had Brian O'Driscoll as his assistant. You know, like I can tell you who the Irish assistant is, but not that many people who don't follow rugby would. You know, but we've done
quite
it
a good principle.
We've done it from minute one, Eamon, like that he had, you know, there was a Roy Keane, after Martin got the job, then there was a Roy Keane press conference, and it's happened all the way through, because he's one of these figures that we're, as a nation, we're obsessed with.
If you hire Roy Keane, like you said, it's all the energy that the media that he's taken up in the media. If you bring Roy Keane into your group in this country, he's the one that most people are interested in. He's the one people are going to write about. And how much of what he said is out of character? Have you been surprised by what he's done?
No.
Right, but why? See, these conversations are inevitable. They're inevitable.
The one person I'm interested in is Martin O'Neill.
Well, do you think he will, I don't know if we'll know about this publicly, do you think he will have a word with Roy? Will he have a conversation with him and say, I want you to not do X, X, X?
I think, I put it this way, Darragh, Roy Keane's visibility at the moment and the comments he's making is bad for the team. It's bad for Irish soccer on a number of levels. It's very, very bad. And if we're not running a comedy show here, we're trying to qualify for a major tournament, and it's hugely important to the people who go into the Aviva and to the players and to all of us. We don't want it to be undermined in any way or even put at risk by this kind of nonsense.
Briefly, Richie, your thoughts to close?
It's inevitable. I question whether it's that much of a distraction to the actual players.
OK, guys, thanks a lot.